Welcome to the Head Shepherd podcast. I'm your host, Mark Ferguson, CEO here at NextGen Agri International, where we help livestock managers get the best out of their stock. Before we get started, thank you to our two fantastic sponsors for continuing to sponsor this podcast. MSD Animal Health is perhaps better known as Cooper's Animal Health in Australia and for their Allflex range across the world, with a comprehensive suite of animal health and management products. Heinegger is a one-stop shop for wool harvesting and animal fibre removal. The Heinegger team have a deep understanding of livestock agriculture, backed by Swiss engineering and a family business dedicated to manufacturing the best. We are grateful to our sponsors for their support, helping us bring Head Shepherd to you each week. And now it's time to get on with this week's episode. Welcome back to Head Shepherd. You're with Ferg. Great to have you listening along as usual. Today on the show, we welcome Tamarah Luxton. And the reason we have Tamarah on the show is because today we're launching neXtPredict. neXtPredict is a partnership between Weatherbys Scientific and NextGen Agri. It's a genomics-only tool developed for Merino producers out there who would like to understand the genetic potential of their animals but don't currently have the measurements to do that. It's been developed by Sheep Genetics in partnership with AGBU and in the genomics service providers, Weatherbys Scientific being one of those. We're now bringing it to market as a collaboration, and we're using the strengths of both our companies, Weatherbys Scientific at delivering that genomic information from the tissue samples that Merino producers will supply, and then NextGen Agri to bring that information to life, to bring that into usable information for producers. At the base level, that's a flock profile test and GBVs on the individuals provided. And as we get into more of a detailed package, we can actually provide a lot of advice around that information and bring that to life for producers. We're developing a portal where all that information will go and where people can rank those individual animals based on either our criteria or your own, depending on the package that you sign up to. Really exciting day for NextGen Agri, a collaboration we've been working on for a little while with Weatherbys Scientific, and great to be working with those guys and bringing this tool to the Australian and New Zealand merino industries. So we've got Tamarah Luxton on the show. She's here to help us understand the tool a bit more and introduce Weatherbys Scientific to the audience. We'll get on with that one now. Welcome to Head Shepherd, Tamarah.
Thanks, Ferg. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Pretty exciting day for a couple of companies. So we'll get on to why in just a second. But before we get into that, I guess just a bit of detail on your backstory, how you ended up in the genomic space, and I guess what drew you to working with livestock producers.
Yeah, that's a very good question. One I get quite often because I've actually grew up in Brisbane. So agriculture and livestock was a little bit left field. I guess I've always had a love of animals from a very young age. My grandparents had a little hobby farm about an hour west of Brizzy there, and that was always where I wanted to be, holidays, weekends. I think the real kicker, though, was watching McLeod's daughters growing up. Who wouldn't want to be working alongside Alex Ryan?
That's the first answer we've had that, but it's a valid point. Yeah.
I thought it was a good introduction to the industry, but I guess in all seriousness, though, I was skeptical whether I'd kind of idealize the lifestyle and the industry from a show like that. When I was making decisions about what to do at university and what career path I'd take, I did a taste program of sorts out in central Queensland. So it was essentially just doing mustering and fencing. We cleaned troughs. And to my pleasant surprise, I absolutely loved it. All the dirty and sweaty stuff included.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, the other kids there, I was the only one from the city. They were all off properties and things. So by the end of the week, I was chasing feral piglets alongside them, and all was good.
Awesome. So, you studied there at UQ. Obviously, that would have been an ag degree. And then, customer-facing roles around various jobs before joining Weatherbys Scientific. I guess, how does that help build your understanding of how producers actually need genomic testing services?
Yeah, well, the Bachelor of Sustainable Agriculture at UQ Gatton there really gave me good base knowledge for getting into the industry, everything from soil health to livestock breeding and nutrition. I built on that knowledge with experience through, as you mentioned, working in customer-facing roles. it put me in a position where I was not just reading about farmers' challenges, I was actually hearing directly from producers and breeders, helping me to understand those challenges from their point of view, I suppose. So something that I quickly learned is that producers don't want jargon or data for data's sake. They want answers that are clear and actionable insights. So like in the case of genomics, it's will this ram improve lamb survival or growth rates, or which ewes are most likely to produce the kind of maternal traits I need in my flock, you know? So genomics has a huge potential, but only if it's delivered in a way that breeders can read and interpret that information and put it into action.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, massive power. And I guess it's power that I feel like is increasing daily as we get to use it more and our reference populations grow. We tend to, every few months we tend to get more power, which is awesome. I guess before we talk more about more about genomics, I guess, and the product we're here to introduce. But Weatherbys Scientific might not be a name that everybody's heard out there, and it's obviously a company that's been around for a long time, does a range of things. Maybe just run us through what Weatherbys Scientific does globally.
Yeah, that's a great question, Ferg. I mean, I've been with the business for 3.5 years and I myself am still learning. It's quite the operation. So Weatherbys Scientific is actually just one part of the wider Weatherbys family business. So the company itself was actually founded about 250 years ago, 255 to be exact. We originally managed the general stud book for British thoroughbreds, horses that is. And yeah, we were kind of a cornerstone piece of the British and Irish racing industry over there, handling everything from pedigree verification, which ties into genomics later on, as well as race entries and prize money. So we still handle that general stud book to this day in the UK and Ireland. But we've, as you mentioned, really expanded. So we have our very own Weatherbys Bank. Yeah, so we do that. We have insurances, and then, of course, Weatherbys Scientific, which is the arm that I work in myself. So we kind of went from having paper equine pedigrees in 1770, and then we innovated and evolved from there into genomic service offerings from about 1985. So that expanded us from just dealing with horses to a multitude of species, including cattle, sheep, dogs, and even aquaculture. So it's pretty groovy. We came over to Australia in about 2018, and since then we've been offering genomic testing services for mostly cattle and sheep breeders across stud and commercial production systems. And yeah, it's pretty exciting space. So I kind of glazed over genomics there a little bit, Ferg. I have seen you've done some genomic episodes in the past, but would your listeners like me to do a quick run through on what genotyping is?
Yeah, I reckon that'd be valuable. And yeah, we have had a bit of genomics chat before, but it's always good I guess we live and breathe in the space and get a bit relaxed around talking about it, but it's always good to explain what actually we're talking about.
Yeah. Look, it'll be a quick little overview, but I'm sure people have more questions, but that's all right. So I like to explain it as essentially what we do is we take a sample from your animal, that be sheep or cattle. It can be in the form of a hair sample, a tissue sample, so like an ear notch, or semen. So we test this sample and produce a digital DNA map of sorts, which we call a genotype. And from there, we're able to read and interpret traits like pole horn or genetic defects. Like in Angus cattle, we have developmental duplication. And that genotype can also be compared to other animals. So for sire verification, we can confirm who the sire is by cross-referencing those genotypes and see how much overlap or relatedness they have. So in the sheep space, we have what's called a 60K ovine chip. So 60K meaning 60,000 points of DNA, which are included in that DNA map that we're reporting there.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah. So, and I guess some of the reasons why the science has taken a while to evolve is because we need the computing power to actually handle these things. If you imagine that every animal that hits the database has 40 or 50 things measured on it, and then another 50 or 60,000 bits of information as well, and then we need to multiply that out by thousands, you end up with a fairly big data set, and that's why it takes a while to crunch these analysis these days. But yeah, really really powerful. I guess the exciting thing we're talking about today is neXtPredict, which is a product that we've partnered together in Weatherbys and NextGen Agri to take to the sheep industries or the merino industries of Australia and New Zealand. Yeah, I guess maybe if you could explain maybe why it's so exciting to get it to commercial farmers and why that hasn't been available in the past. For genomics has been around for stud breeders, but obviously we haven't been able to bring it to commercial people before in the way that this product is.
Yeah, you make a really good point. I mean, traditionally genomic testing has been something we've seen mostly at a stud level. Ram breeders have used the tool to refine their breeding programs and increase the accuracy of their Australian sheep breeding values, or otherwise known as ASBVs. But as you've noted, on a commercial scale, it just hasn't been there. So I think there are a couple of hurdles that come into play here why it hasn't been available for commercial producers. One of them being data collection. I mean, in the past, to gain insights into your flock using the ASBVs, you need to collect a lot of data alongside samples for testing, data including birth dates and weights, for example. So this is a task that is part and parcel with stud breeding, but one that can be really near impossible on a large scale property. I mean, I take my hat off to stud breeders. I've only done a few trips bouncing around in a buggy, checking calves for weighing and marking myself. One being in winter in South Australia. So you can imagine how this Queenslander lasted out there.
Yeah, we could. Good to watch. I don't suggest you go to a US calving then. Well, they sound even really chilly.
Oh no, I'd be frozen out the back. They would have lost me long ago. Very much so. But yeah, doing that just a handful of times, it really gave me a huge respect for how much work goes into data collection on a stud level and an insight in how near impossible that is to replicate on a commercial scale. You know, their properties are much more vast, their numbers are much larger. So this is exactly where neXtPredict comes in. You know, there's no pedigree or performance data required. They're just commercial producers are able to just take that DNA sample when animals are in for marking and go from there and get some really good feedback back on those animals. I think a second hindrance would be cost as well. Now, genomics in the past has only been able to offer parentage and genetic traits really for commercial guys who weren't submitting that data alongside their samples. So the value proposition probably wasn't as strong in the commercial space in the absence of breeding values. But again, this great new neXtPredict product, we're going to be able to offer 13 traits across 5 indexes, which are of economic and productive importance, which is just really exciting. So they'd probably be my top 2, Ferg, but I don't know if you've got any others to add.
No, I think you've covered it well. We've just got, it's been limited by that need to have collect that data and know a lot more about what's going on. I guess similar to, if we compare it to something like MerinoSelect in the Angus world, where they've been able to predict straight to a genomic breeding value from the DNA. And so this is the first time we've had that opportunity in the sheep game and in the Merino game, which is pretty exciting. And I guess one of the questions we're going to get asked is, will it work in other breeds? And the answer is no, because it's been developed on a Merino reference population, which is pretty critical for genomics. It's only as good as the reference population that backs it. So we need to always keep that in mind. I guess the other thing we should point out is it's not just Weatherbys and NextGen Agri making up some stuff. It's obviously backed by MLA-funded research through AGBU and Sheep Genetics, obviously. So a big chunk of sort of trial work that went on to sort of make sure it was what was going to be delivered was validated. You were involved in a bit of that work in sort of gathering those samples and making sure that we had a good reference population or good test population for this reference tool.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, the opportunity to be involved in this project was really exciting. We definitely saw the benefits of it. The aim of the project was to gain practical experience and validate the benefits of genomic testing in commercial merino flocks. So to help provide a little bit more context, I might just backpedal a little bit, Ferg, and explain what breeding values are, just especially for those listeners who might not be familiar with them. A breeding value is a prediction of an animal's genetic potential, how likely it is to pass on certain traits to its offspring, like growth rate, fertility, or worm resistance, for example. So these values are derived from their comparison to the reference population. So a reference population is like a big library of animals, including their pedigree, phenotypic or performance data, and in most cases nowadays, their DNA as well. So in the instance of NeXtPredict, the MerinoSelect database through Sheep Genetics, which now also includes the 10,000 samples collected for this project, is powering the NeXtPredict evaluation, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's obviously, I don't know, I think the stats are something like, is it 600,000 genotypes are in the Merino database now? Something big anyway. There's lots of animals in there, and obviously that's the real engine room behind this product, and so that, I guess, gives us confidence that when we roll it out, it'll be predicting with enough accuracy to make some really important decisions for those commercial producers. And I guess in my mind, I see those people that breed their own rams as being people that can immediately benefit from this tool that may have been doing that with limited or zero information in the past, and will move through to being fully having these 13 different traits, which I guess we could go through, but they're all going to be listed. But I guess it's the weight traits, it's the fleece traits. We've got weaning rate, we've got worms, condition score, and so it's sort of the 13 key ones we look at. There's a few others that aren't yet covered by that product, but I think it gets a commercial producer a long way down the track of having really, really good information. I guess it is a slightly different language. It's in what we're calling genomic breeding values, or what are known as genomic breeding values. So it's kind of linked to ASBVs, but it's in a different. They're sort of in deciles. So it is going to take a little while to get people's heads around, and I guess that's why this partnership that we're forming is important. I guess the unique aspect of the partnership is that you guys are gurus at doing the genomics, and we know a little bit about genetics, hopefully, and so we bring those two things together. What does that partnership mean for livestock producers in your mind?
Yeah, Ferg, we're really excited to partner with NextGen Agri and see it as a really incredible opportunity for livestock producers. As I mentioned earlier, I've learned a lot that breeders don't want never-ending spreadsheets of data, but it's difficult to interpret. They want clear, actionable takeaways that can act as a roadmap to their breeding success, right? So I see this partnership bringing exactly that to the market, the science and technology of the genotyping that Weatherbys offers, and the expert consultation from your NextGen team as well to help with the interpretation and analysis of the results. So I've seen your teams put together some pretty snazzy visual displays of the data and the ability to filter and rank individual animals as well. As a visual learner myself, I can see the clear benefits of this version of reporting to replace those endless spreadsheets. Can you see it as quite a benefit for producers from your point of view as well? Yeah,
and I guess we're just getting started. So we've definitely the ability to quickly go through that data, filter it in a way that is relevant for you, and as they get into some of the higher level offerings we've got around this product, be able to index those animals straight off out of that tool, and lots of obvious colour signals to show which ones are good and which ones are bad and that sort of stuff. But I think the ability to get rather than have a CSV, actually have some actionable decisions is where we're trying to go 100%. I guess we see this tool as delivering those commercial farmers with, or enabling them to make selection decisions a lot earlier, accelerate the genetic gains through those subsequent generations. I guess there's going to be people out there listening to us rattle on about this stuff and being a bit skeptical about how this would be of value to them. What do you think is the most compelling reason to consider sort of genomic testing in their flock for a commercial merino producer out there?
Yeah, we've definitely got a few compelling reasons, but I think the main ones, I completely understand their skepticism. It's really healthy, especially in an industry that is tough as sheep breeding, right? But I think what makes genomics worth considering is, as you mentioned, how early it lets you make confident decisions. You're not waiting a couple of years to see how a ram's daughters perform. You have solid data early on about what an animal is likely to pass on through their genetics. So it gives people a bit of a head start. And when you multiply that across generations, it really does add up. So this might be a little bit of homework for your listeners if they're interested. I definitely recommend looking into what the dairy industry has been able to achieve with genomics. They've got a bit of a head start on sheep and beef cattle when it comes to genomics, but they've been able to make huge leaps in improved genetic performance. They're able to more easily report on this because animals are milked twice a day, so they're in and out and they're getting recorded so often. So that's a huge amount of data, and the proof is in the data. So if they're skeptical, I think that would be a good place to start to see what is possible. And obviously we're just at the start of the journey for commercial sheep breeders, but it's exciting to see where we can go.
Yeah, I think, and that's it's great to have this as the first product off the rank, but I imagine that it'll be, we can hope that it's one of many that start to evolve into other breeds. Obviously would be another, it would be awesome. Obviously the Merino is where it started, but there's many other breeds and increasingly other breeds in Australia and New Zealand, so it'd be good to see some of those breeds come in. Is there anything really that is stopping that, or is it just reference populations and a bit of time?
Look, I think the crux of it probably is reference population and a bit of time, adoption as well from people. I definitely think it's just the beginning of genomic tools in commercial sheep breeding. It's quite remarkable to see how far things have come, even in the few years that I've been involved in the genomic industry. But yeah, definitely adoption will be a key driver of success, both for scientists developing the technology and producers utilising it. I think the more feedback that we can get for what is working and what isn't from producers will be really important. And then obviously, as you mentioned, with increased uptake and more data, the accuracies increase as well. So it only gets better for producers on ground, I think. Yeah, 100%. I guess if we get into the details of exactly what we're talking about, and you can correct me where I go wrong here, but as far as we're concerned, people who want to get involved, it's get in touch with one of the NextGen team or yourself there in near Toowoomba there, and get some TSUs sent out, or get TSUs from your regular supplier. We can talk you through what that means. Obviously, they get sent to you. They get once a week. They get sent off to Ireland to get turned from a chunk of ear into that digital DNA essentially, and that comes back, goes to sheep genetics, gets turned into the genomic breeding beds, running through that database based on the MerinoSelect reference population, and then that'll come into the portal that we're designing, and that's where people can choose their kind of adventure from there, whether they just get that information as it is with a few options around some indexes and stuff, or whether they go up a level or two and actually get that into interpretable or ranked into information, not based on their property and their desires. And I guess over time we would see, because that then becomes a bit of a base population, and our job at Weatherbys and NextGen is to make sure that data is put in a way that they can then build maybe pedigree over time as well. Because a whole heap of things that, like, the first year will be good information, and then the next year might be even better as we start to learn more things. And I guess the other thing I wanted to mention is that we also get what's a flock profile with, or people can request a flock profile with those data samples that come in. So not just these genomic breeding rates on individuals, but the average flock profile of the data submitted as well. So it's both a great benchmark for where the average of that group of animals is, but also how they rank within that group. So it sets people up for a really in a really informed way. It's a great product for those commercial guys that really have had some phenotypic information on what their eyes are telling them up until now. How'd they go? Did I get most of it? Yeah, I think you're all over it. There is also the option to add parentage if they'd like to, but otherwise that's...
And pole on if they'd like to as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So for those, for a talking pole, you can... So there can be requested as well, so which are all obviously predicted from genomics. So, and I guess people can get in touch with... in the show notes, we'll make sure the contact details are there for either Weatherbys or NextGen Agri, and any of our team on the ground are happy to answer questions, as are you there at Weatherbys. So all of us are on the same page. So I look forward to getting those phone calls and seeing how people start to utilise this tool in their business. I think the beauty about putting technology in the hands of livestock producers is that they'll find a way to use it in the most sort of economic and powerful way possible. So that's going to be really interesting how they hack the system, as farmers like to.
Yeah, definitely. I love to learn, getting on farm and learning what hacks they come up with, and then I can pass them on to the next guy. So.
That's right, exactly.
Works very well.
Tamarah, we're going to stick to protocol here, which is we always ask a couple of questions, which are obviously we're a bit off topic in terms of the NextPredict, but more direct to you. But yeah, I guess what's the last thing you changed your mind about?
Oh, this is a bit of a tricky one. Can I throw something random in?
Yeah, everyone does. So yeah.
Everyone loves random. Okay, very random, but carrots in juice. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I never thought a vegetable had a place in my morning juice, but combined with a bit of orange and ginger, I'm quite the fan.
Right, yeah. Well, no, carrots and juice, that's,
not sure if I must have tried that once or twice, but there you go. That's interesting.
Might surprise you too, Ferg. You never know.
We do get a bit of breakfast chat on that question, but that's good. And the final one, which is, who's the best human you've had the pleasure to learn from?
That is a tricky one. I feel like I've been quite fortunate to come across a number of pretty influential people. There's been very good ones to learn from. But I think sticking with the genetics theme, I'd have to say Professor Ben Hayes from the University of Queensland. So he's quite a big name in the genetics and genomic space. I've had the pleasure of working with Professor Hayes and also attending a lot of his lectures and things. I find he's a person that has a rare ability to take some really incredibly complex science, especially in the world of genomics and quantitative genetics, and make it understandable and relevant, and also a little bit exciting, I think. So, he's really taken genomics to new heights, and whether it's during lectures or casual conversations that we've had, he has a great ability to connect science back to real world outcomes, which I think is really cool. He's also done a bit of exciting research in northern cattle production as well. And we've been able to tie some of that research into our new bovine 85K chip. So that's pretty exciting as well. So being able to work alongside somebody who's so influential in the space is pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%. And I was actually lectured by Mike Goddard, who was, I think, Ben Hayes' PhD supervisor, which is probably dating me. But, I think those two are kind of widely known as sort of very influential in developing the genetics and genomics in Australia. Obviously, they've done a lot in dairy, but also across other breeds as well. So, really, really powerful. And good that you mentioned those other things. We should mention that Weatherbys obviously do standard genotyping products for sheep and beef across Australia. So not just these direct products like neXtPredict, but obviously just your standard genomic products that go into informing ASBVs and EBVs to make them more accurate at an early age. So that's obviously your core business of what you do there in Oz.
Indeed it is.
Excellent. Well, Tamarah, thanks very much for your time, and really looking forward to working with you and the Weatherbys team. It's a new collaboration for us, and we've had probably 2 or 3 weeks to get our head around what that means, and really exciting today to be letting the world know what we're up to and in this collaboration. But it's going to be some really good times ahead, I feel, and it's great to get it down and recorded today on the day that we sort of as this podcast goes out, there'll be press release going out around the tool, and our offering will go out as well. So watch this space, and jump on any of our with all the links will be in the show notes if anyone's interested to find out more.
Yeah, definitely, Ferg. It'll be exciting to see it out in the world and people utilising it. We're certainly going to welcome feedback. As we said, we want to be making sure this product is helping producers. So guys, if you're using it and you got questions, get in touch.
Awesome. Thanks, Tamarah.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Heineken, who are proud world leaders in the manufacturing and supply of professional sheep shearing and clipping equipment. Thank you to MNSD Animal Health and Norflex Livestock Intelligence. They offer an extensive livestock product portfolio focused on animal health management, all backed up by exceptional service. We thank both of these companies for their ongoing support of the Head Shepherd podcast.